Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with my review for the second season of What We Do in the Shadows on FX. Alright, so it has been a while, to say the least, since my last review on the channel. I think we're going back like 9 or 10 months since the last review, and that's just been really reflective of what happened in 2020, right? And I think I'm going to make a separate video for this just because, it might be better to just have that to kind of discuss my disinterest with TV and how this whole thing has really impacted that as well. With so many shows and so many, like not even just returning shows, but also a bunch of new shows. And it's also a big parallel with movies, which I also kind of dabble with on the channel. So, yeah, maybe I'll take a separate video to talk about all that stuff. But What We Do in the Shadows was one of the, one of these shows that I really wanted to go back and watch. Because, like I said, I kind of tuned out of the whole TV thing. I didn't watch many shows, or many new shows, I should say. And What We Do in the Shadows, though, stood out. That was one that I really wanted to go back to, and I have now. So about a week ago, I started watching, this season 2. I started getting into it, and they're like only 20, 24-minute episodes, so you really blow through them. I mean, if you add it all up, I think it's only like 3.5 to 4 hours of TV in total. You can blow through that easily in a night. So I was kind of pacing myself a little bit, trying to enjoy it, and, I see everybody saying, we need longer episodes. I kind of agree, I don't know about an hour long, but maybe at least half an hour. Anyways, is what it is. So, yeah, so I thought, obviously this premiered in April, I think, of 2020. So in 3 months, we're going to be at a year since it premiered. But I thought I'd still jump on here and make this review and discuss the show because, well, for a couple of reasons, really. Is one, when I watched this, and now I've been looking back on it in the last week or so, there's not a lot of reviews and not a lot of people are talking about this show. And it's really unfortunate. So I thought I'd really, like to add to this discussion, put this out there, try to get some more attention around the show, and really try to, get it kind of more popular because it's such a good show, for sure. And then my other reason is that a lot of people in the international markets, don't get these shows that fast, right? Like Better Call Saul is a great example on Netflix. A lot of other shows are like that. That they get the next season of the show about a year after it comes out on TV on AMC, right? And so I feel like it's still a relevant show. I think some people are still going to be finding this within the last few months. So I figure, why not, right? Why not come out with the review for this? And I just really like to share my thoughts. And, of course, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on the season. If you have seen it, what did you think of it? If you can remember, right, if you saw it last year. But, yeah, love to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. And if you enjoyed the review, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Would really appreciate that as well. And hopefully future reviews for Season 3. It has been renewed. We do know that. But just like every other show right now, we're not really sure when that is. Now, I might be wrong. They may have already filmed it, and they might be kind of looking for a release date at this point, but I'm not sure that that's the case. I really don't know. And it's probably a good chance that they don't know either. So that's just what it is. But hopefully we'll get Season 3 this year, and definitely we'll be doing reviews for that as well. All right, so Season 2, man, really love Season 1, obviously. It was a standout for me. I wasn't even sure that I was going to check it out. It looked really cool, and of course, I still haven't seen the original movie, Jermaine Clement, Taika Waititi. Still haven't seen that, and I really do want to watch that. So I will watch that very soon, and maybe give my thoughts on the channel. We'll see. But yeah, so really enjoyed Season 1. Some great moments. Some of the best moments, I think, of TV in 2019, for sure. If you want to take a look at my awards, What We Do in the Shadows was everywhere in that awards. A lot of nominations and stuff. Really loved it. One of the best comedies, for sure, of the year. For me, and I think just objectively speaking, I think it's one of the most unique and funny shows on TV. It really is. So anyways, going into the second season, I had high expectations, and I have to say they were met. And maybe and then some. Like, this really impressed me the second season. And to me, I think it's an improvement over Season 1. and I just really, really liked it. It was really satisfying to see this. So, and especially too, because a lot of comedies on TV right now, I don't know. I'm not a big comedy guy, in fairness, but I don't think a lot of them are that great. Even some of the award-winning comedies. So I think for something like this to be this unique and this kind of original is just so refreshing, and it's really satisfying to see. So anyways, let's get into, I guess, the recap here. So the second season of What We Do in the Shadows sees the return of series creator Jermaine Clement and many of the other writers from the first season. However, the big glaring discrepancy here is that Taika Waititi is absent. So, of course, he's the director of 3 episodes, and he directed kind of the pilot, which is a pretty important thing, actually, for a lot of shows. The director of a pilot is usually, pretty impactful for the whole show, like the whole run of the show. Even if they leave and never direct another episode, they are really impactful in that and really set the tone and the style of the show. So for him not to be here this season is kind of a big deal. And I think he's also the co-creator. It says in the credits now that it's solely created by Jermaine Clement, but I swear in season 1 that it was the 2 of them together. So anyways, it is what it is. So as a result of Taika Waititi not being there, we are introduced to some new writers and some new directors. Biggest one including Kyle Newachuk, who directs, I think, the pilot, episode 2, and then the last 2 episodes, which is similar to what Taika Waititi did with season 1. So, and obviously Taika Waititi, he's busy winning Oscars now. Love Jojo Rabbit, man. I do have my thoughts on the channel with that movie. Absolutely fantastic film. My favorite of 2019. But, he's busy winning Oscars now. He's on to other things. But I think he did talk about returning to season 3, doing some directing again. So hopefully we'll see him there. In terms of the cast, the whole Vampire crew is back, of course, including Kayvon Novak, Matt Berry, Natasha Dimitru, I think, Mark Proksch, and, of course, their familiar Harvey Guillen, right? Guillermo. So, yeah, really great that the main cast is all back and all just as great as always. Really awesome. And then, of course, a big thing about this show is season 1 was the guest cast, like the guest appearances, especially in the trial episode, one of the best episodes TV for the year, for sure. And it was because of all those guest appearances and the cameos. Well, this season doesn't disappoint either. Some of the guest cast includes Mark Hamill, Craig Robinson, Benedict Wong, Jermaine Clement himself, and many others. And also, the actress who played Lilith the Witch has also been in some other stuff. And she was here. Some really great guest performances. Mark Hamill, I think that how that happened is season 1 he was talking about on Twitter was like one of his favorite shows and all this stuff, and then they actually went through with it and got him in the second season here, which is just awesome. So really great. So season 2, there are some changes. Taika Waititi's gone, but overall, I mean, the cast is all there. The guest cast is, I would say, maybe even better than season 1, and it really comes together nicely. So throughout the 10-episode run, this second season delivers on many of the great elements of the first season, while also introducing some new and unique concepts by taking some more significant risks. And I'll explain that a little bit more, in just a couple minutes here, talking about those risks that they took, which I thought actually really paid off. But they were risks, nonetheless. So overall, with the exception of a couple weaker episodes to round it out, this season ultimately improves upon its already fantastic predecessor. Like I said, season 1, one of my favorites. I think this is even better. So What We Do in the Shadows truly continues to be one of the most funniest, the most funny and unique shows on television. And I stand by that. I really do think that it is unique. It is hilarious. I mean, you'll really laugh out loud at this show. And there's not many comedies that'll do that for me, at least. Maybe the only one I can really think of lately has been Barry, maybe Righteous Gemstones, who throw that in there. They had some good moments. But yeah, like this is really top of the line comedy for sure. All right, so now I'll get into a little bit of a spoiler territory. I just want to give a little warning. I know this came out a year ago, just in case, but I'm going to talk about some spoilers here. But anyways, so first, great performances. Obviously, the main cast does a fantastic job throughout the season. as they did in season one, right? That this cast is awesome. And even, I mean, Natasha Demetrio, Kayvan Novak, Mark Proksch, Matt Berry's obviously the exception. I think a lot of people knew who he was going in. But those, those actors are not that well known going into the show. Harvey Guillen, for sure not. But they're so good. And that's the thing with a series like this, is that a lot of these comedies on network television, they always have to have that one comedian. Like I'm thinking Ted Danson with the Mr. Mayor series that just came out this weekend, or this week. They always have these big actors, and they never really pay off, or at least in my opinion. And so to see a cast like this that's not that well known, but they're still so good, it's just really satisfying to see. And you love rooting for these types of actors that aren't in a lot of stuff, and they're really proving their worth here. So, and the funny thing is that Mark Proksch, I knew him from Better Call Saul, where he has a completely different role. He is kind of funny in that show. I mean, everyone's a little bit funny, but he was a really playing a really different character in that show, and he's so good in this. Probably my favorite of the cast, him or Matt Berry for sure. So the one thing though that sticks out in this season is, yes, obviously great performances from this cast, but the biggest thing is that some of these actors were put in some really interesting situations that were quite a bit different from season one and even the rest of season two. I mean, so you want to talk about episode 6 with Matt Berry, and that whole thing, On the Run, the episode's called. And that episode for, the character of Laszlo is a completely different look at that character. Yes, it's still kind of the same attitude, the same style, all that stuff is kind of the same, but he's in completely different situations, interacting with some really different characters and all this stuff. I mean, he's at a volleyball court in a gym, right? Like, that's just something we don't see in the show usually. And so I think Matt Berry, for being able to kind of adapt to that different situation, show a little bit of more depth with that performance, I think that just really speaks to how good he is. And then also Mark Proksch in episode 5. There was a lot of focus on his character there. That episode was basically just his. It's got his name in the title even. So that, again, was really great to see Mark Proksch have that depth and be able to kind of carry an episode like that when he's usually just kind of in the background. And he's really good at that, but it was also good to see him, being able to be that good in a shining kind of role. So, yeah, really great. And then, of course, the guest cast, like I said, absolutely amazing stuff. I would have to say Craig Robinson would probably be my favorite, but Mark Hamill was obviously great. Some really great stuff. So then, like I said, taking some more risks. So I thought there were a little bit, there were some episodes here that were a little bit riskier. And I think one episode actually that kind of crossed the line for me, but in hindsight, it was actually like a good decision, I think. So the one episode I'm talking about is episode 6. Of course, On the Run. It's kind of the most risky episode that they've done, I would say, so far. Because it takes this character of Laszlo and, like I said, puts him in a completely different world with different characters, a different plot line, everything. And yet, it's still, really funny, and it almost is more funny because he's kind of this fish out of water character, and we've seen this like dabbled with in other episodes, but this episode it's like the story of the episode, and I actually think it really paid off. It's really great. Stephanie Robinson wrote this episode, and some of the dialogue, and of course I'll talk about it, but the Jackie Daytona, like it's just so funny and so well written, really witty as well. So I thought that was great, but again, it was kind of risky. I thought, like I said, it kind of crossed the line for me because of they started interviewing like people in the town, the volleyball coach, and that's just something they didn't really do. They do have the mockumentary, of course, that's the big part of it, but they'd never really interview like outside characters, in the show, and the whole thing of like, okay, you're interviewing these outside characters, but then so he's just supposed to be a normal man at the bar, but then you're having the movie crew in there interviewing these people. What do they think they're being interviewed for? So there was just like some little things like that I thought was like, okay, that's maybe a little too far with taking the mockumentary thing. But it's so funny. Like it's worth taking that, risk and going past the line to have those moments of just, pure comedic genius, I would say. Like, it's just so, so funny. Really great. And then episode 5, too. I mean, that's really a Colin-centered episode. And again, a little risky because for a lot of people, I'm sure Colin is not their favorite character here. And to watch him for almost the entire episode, like it's going to be a little different and it's a little risky. So, again, I think that one paid off. Spoiler alert, probably my favorite episode of the season. Love it, love it. So that one really paid off. And then episode 10 is risky in a whole different way in that, yes, it's pretty funny. Like, the episode is comedic, but there's actually a very dramatic ending to that and a very serious tone. And so I thought that was also a little risky, but I really liked it. I really liked how it paid off. So, like I said, all these risks that they took were actually positive. I think they really did pay off. Now, should they be like constantly making these? I don't know. I think you still have to have some episodes like Ghosts, like The Curse, just some of these small concept episodes that are still really funny and just crowd pleasing. And then you want to sprinkle these risky episodes in. That, I think, is the perfect balance, and that's what they were able to do with this season. Awesome stuff. So it doesn't take itself too seriously, basically at all, in this season, and that's just one of the show's greatest strengths. That's what I said with season 1 when I watched it, and I did my review on the channel. I said, this could be bad. Like, they're mixing horror and comedy. They could have went down this road with trying to balance the two, making it, like, legitimately scary, and then it's not really funny, right? It's kind of hard to balance these two tones and these two genres, but it does it because it doesn't take itself seriously at all, almost at any point, right? There's scary moments, especially in episode 10, like, there's some legitimately scary moments when they open the doors and all that stuff, but then they have, like, immediate comedy right after, where it's like, okay, the guy almost, they could have just died, but it was just made of a joke, and so I really think that's one of their greatest strengths, is that the show at the root of it is comedy. It is funny. It's making a joke of these characters and the situations, even though they might be a little scary, right? And so I really like it. Same with the vampire lore. They could have went kind of in a different direction with that, but they make it, a hilarious version of it, with having witches, and then they don't believe in ghosts, right? And all this stuff. So, again, really, really funny, the way they do that, and it's a great blend. I think some people, like some horror, fans, would kind of be, like, a little upset maybe. They were expecting a little bit more seriousness with that, a little bit more horror, but I think it's great. I think that the way that they balance it is perfect, for me at least. But I do recognize that maybe some people might like a little bit more of the horror. But again, I think we got that. I think we got that in a number of episodes, for sure. So, my favorite moments. This is one of the main reasons I made this video, is to talk about my favorite moments. Alright, so first of all, it has to be Jackie Daytona. Matt Berry is a genius, man. He's absolutely brilliant with the way he delivers this. And the writing, of course, is obviously one of the reasons for how well this goes. But man, Jackie Daytona, such a hilarious personality, and he has this toothpick and no one recognizes him until he takes the toothpick out. He's just sponsoring the volleyball team, and just so funny the entire episode run, with this kind of, running gag, I guess, if you will, or this kind of story. So funny. And like I said, Matt Berry, Stephanie Robinson, the writer, both of them kind of collaborating, if you will, on this. Absolutely amazing product. Colin's promotion, the entire episode to me, with Colin's part, was just so funny. And one of the biggest lines that came out at the very end of the episode, when he says, I've moved on from my old job. Turns out they were like financially broke or something like that. They were in financial ruin, he says. Just so funny, because of course he drained everybody. No one was doing work, and the business just went under. So now he has to go to a new place. He works, he gets into a new cubicle, and they don't even know that he works there. So it's just so awesome, right? That was a really great moment. And Colin and the internet troll, that's got to be like one of the best moments I've seen ever, honestly. The whole storyline with that playing out, him draining energy on Twitter, And Jermaine Clement wrote this episode, and it's kind of relevant, but it doesn't go too far either, right? Like, he could have went, pretty far here and made it kind of political, but he actually makes it, he doesn't go that far, but it's still really funny and really relatable, to the point where I really enjoyed it. I think it was hilarious that this, internet troll actually ends up being a troll. And I thought about it in, like, midway through the episode. I'm like, it'd be funny if this guy was, like, actually a troll. And then that's actually what they did. So, really, really funny gag there, and some great moments. Also, with showing the trolls, like, penis and all the stuff with that. So funny at the end there. And FX, they can actually get away with quite a bit. A little bit more than what I thought they'd be able to, for sure. So, and then obviously Zombie Topher starting out the season now was so funny. Haley Joel Osment, I forgot to mention him. He makes a guest appearance. He's so good with Zombie Topher. He's running around and and Laszlo, oh my goodness, reacting to it and being like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, why is he acting like that? Why is he running on the walls and stuff? And he's like, meanwhile, he's the zombie that's been resurrected. Such a funny moment. And then the whole storyline with the vampire hunters with Craig Robinson's crew. Oh my God, like, that was just hilarious. They're mosquito, the mosquito catchers or something like this. And then, of course, Guillermo gets wrapped up in this, along with his whole storyline of killing vampires. So funny and so well done. And I think Craig Robinson was so great. It's so funny because he's like he's a big dude, right? And, and he's a lot older, too, than a lot of the other characters in that group. And it's just so funny to see him, like, running around with them, getting in this van, driving there. And then, of course, the scene where they actually go into the mansion, kill this whole family of vampires. Oh, it's so funny. And at the end, they're like, well, yeah, we got to get the van back to the guy who just died. You got to get the van back to his mom in the morning. Such great moments there. And then also the superb owl, right? The Super Bowl party that they go to. That was a good gag. I really liked that one. And then the witch semen extraction scene was one of the best of the season, for sure. That was great. Laszlo actually ends up kind of enjoying it, right? Until they get, of course, the tools out. That was awesome. Really, really great moment there, for sure. And then my favorite episode, like I said earlier, it's got to be Colin's promotion, episode 5. Colin is probably my favorite character in the show, so that explains why. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I knew that this was probably going to be my favorite episode when I looked at the titles. I'm like, all right, yeah, a Colin-centered episode, I'm down, right? I'm going to love that one, and I really did. It was really, really great. And again, it's so relatable. It's like, yeah, there are these, like, boring people and at these, working at these cubicles. It's kind of the stereotypical thing. But then they, like, take it to another level, and he's an energy vampire. And, it's just really, really great the way they do that. So awesome. Awesome as well. Love that episode. And a couple other ones I really liked. Obviously On the Run was probably up there for sure. Resurrection, the first episode, was really great. The Return was also really great. Seeing Nick Kroll's character come back. Jermaine Clement wrote that one. And just really, really awesome. So, a little bit of the weaker episodes, for me at least, were episode 8, Collaboration. I thought that episode was the worst of the season, for me at least. The whole Nadja and Laszlo thing, collaborating to do the music stuff, didn't really interest me that much. And Guillermo leaving, that was such a great storyline. It was funny. Him leaving and he's going to Celeste, right? With that whole storyline, it was funny, but I thought, I don't know. I feel like that maybe should have been the focus of the episode then, instead of, like, kind of the secondary plot. Because I think that was a lot stronger than the music one. But I also did have some problems with the ending of that as well. Because, he kind of takes him back, right? Guillermo's taken back to the house, and he works out these, like, having a day off in the week or something like that. And then in just 2 episodes, it kind of, like, completely changes. So, yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the ending of that episode either. But yeah, I mean, obviously still funny. The worst moments of this season are still better than a lot of other shows, right? So, take that in. There for sure. But episode 9, Witches, It was just a little abrupt, the ending. I thought it was a really great episode until like the very end, and it just kind of was abrupt. It felt a little bit rushed, but really some good moments in there. I think there's a lot more potential too. Like they could have done so much more than they did, but again, it was still really good. And some of episode 10, Nouveau Theater de Vampires, right? I just thought some of the writing was not as sharp in this episode. It was a good like finale. Of course, they're trying to kind of leave us on a cliffhanger, which was really good. But I just thought the whole storyline with Guillermo and the vampire killer was just a little mishandled. Again, with episode 8, the ending of episode 8 being that, okay, he's now accepted back, he's given this day off a week, he's really happy with things, and even in Witches, he seems happy. And then in this episode, he just leaves and he's just gone. And he's like done being a familiar. It just seemed a little bit rushed to me. It actually felt like these episodes were a little out of order. It felt like Nouveau Theater wasn't supposed to be the finale to me for some reason. I don't know. But just a little mishandled, a little bit disconnected there in episodes. Again, it's a comedy. I'm probably looking at this too closely. But to me, it just felt a little weird, the way it was kind of ordered there. And it could have been a little bit better. Could have been a little bit sharper, right? Could have been a little bit sharper. But, overall, that's a really great episode too. And the ending is a really good cliffhanger for the show, right? Takes in a little bit of a serious, dramatic direction, which I like. That was really great. All right. So I just want to end this one off by the Emmy 2020 discussion. So with this review being so late, I'm actually able to have this hindsight now of seeing, okay, what did the award bodies, give this show? Because if I reviewed it back in April, I wouldn't have had that ability. So I just wanted to throw this out there, maybe discuss this just, very briefly. And kind of give my thoughts on this, because I didn't give my thoughts on the Emmys this year. Again, really just tuned out. I just like to give my thoughts on what we do in the shadows here. So they got 4 nominations at the Emmys, actually, which was really great. A welcome sight, because they got 0 for season 1, which I thought was criminal. I think it was just really that nobody really watched the show. If they actually had watched the show, I think this show deserved even more nominations than they got in season 2 for season 1. It's just a fantastic show. So I think a lot of people are kind of discovering this show now, and so it's getting a little bit more buzz. So that's what it is. So they were nominated for Outstanding Comedy Series, which is a pretty big accomplishment. That was pretty awesome. And then they were nominated for writing, so the best writing for an episode of comedy, for Collaboration, On the Run, and Ghosts, which was really interesting. So obviously, Outstanding Comedy Series, really great. I think they definitely deserve that one. I think they deserved it for season 1 too, but they deserve that for sure, the nomination. But I do think they deserved a couple more. How does Matt Berry not get nominated here, right? Matt Berry is so good in this. Even Mark Proch, I don't think the Emmys would really recognize him because he's not that well known. But I think even he could get in here. Natasha Demetrio is also really good. Harvey Guillen. I could see Kevon Novak in there as well. But honestly, any of the cast, and then also guest actor, like Mark Hamill doesn't get in, Craig Robinson doesn't get in. Jermaine Clement, even Nick Kroll, Haley Joel Osment, like there's some really great guest performances here that just didn't get recognized at all. So I think they could have had 5 to 8 nominations. Unfortunately, they only had 4, but that's what it is. And then also with the episodes that did get nominated for writing, which again, I completely agree that they do deserve writing nominations. I don't think they were the best episodes, though, to be honest. Ghost is okay. It's a good episode. It's not the best. It's not the worst to me, right? It's just kind of okay. It's a good one. Collaboration, to me, that was the worst episode of the season. And then On the Run, I think that definitely deserved a writing nom. That was a really good written episode by Stephanie Robinson. But I would have liked to see, I don't know that Colin's promotion is quite as accessible, because again, there might be some people who don't like Colin as a character, and as a result might not enjoy that episode as much. But I thought maybe Colin's promotion, The Return is such a good episode writing wise. And again, with that like little bit of political relevance in there too, I thought for sure that might get a nomination here, and I would definitely put that over Collaboration. Resurrection, the first episode, I think that's a really great one too. So yeah, I don't know. I don't completely agree with Collaboration and Ghost being there. But regardless, it's just good to see them getting nominations. And it's good to see some of these writers getting nominations too, because the writers of Ghosts and Collaboration, if I'm not mistaken, no, Ghosts is Paul Sims, right? But Collaboration is 2 new writers that haven't worked on the show and haven't really done that much. So it is good to see those writers getting some recognition. I'll give it that for sure. And Stephanie Robinson too. I think she's really, really good, and it's really great to see her recognized. But anyways, with all that being said, those are my thoughts on the Emmys, and hopefully season 3 can do even better. I don't see this show ever winning Outstanding Comedy Series, just because it's so kind of against the typical comedy Emmy show. But with that being said, I think it definitely deserves the nominations, and the writing on the show is second to none, and I really think that it deserves the nominations for those. So hopefully in season 3 we'll see that, whenever it comes out. We'll see. So anyways, that'll just about do it for my thoughts on what we do in The Shallows Season 2. Really enjoyed talking about this, and I really like to hear your guys' thoughts, as I said off the top. What do you guys think of this season? If you have seen it, and if you haven't, what are you doing? You got to go watch this season, and then come back, let me know your thoughts as well. But anyways, so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and really like to hear your thoughts on this one, and look forward to more reviews on the channel, especially season 3 whenever it comes out. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this one, and we'll see you in my next review.
Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world.